Hello, I'm Barbara Field, a licensed marriage and family therapist in Sacramento, California. I created this channel so that people grieving losses of all kinds could find fellow grievers to help understand your growth and your change and to find resources. So when you're listening to this YouTube channel, when you click that more, you'll find book recommendations and contact information for everyone on here, and we hope that you take advantage of that. And today I've invited some wonderful people who specialize in pet grief. And so I'm just going to ask each one of you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your work. So Desiree, would you like to start?
Good morning. Sure. My name's Desiree Ferguson. I'm an associate clinical social worker. I've been living and working in Santa Clara County, where I have been practicing clinically since about 2021. My training background is I have a master's in social work. And prior to that, I have been pet sitting myself and a pet owner for over 2.5 decades. And before I got into my master's program, the interest of supporting people with the anticipation, loss of their pet, bereavement, whatever that might be, I took a 6 months continuing education program prior to getting my master's in becoming a pet bereavement support person. And that in that course, there is veterinarian medicine professionals, among other therapists and mental health practitioners. So, not sure if you want me to jump into my topic completely. I think this is just the introduction.
That's great. That's perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. So yeah, I just also wanted to say prior to that, it's an honor to be here. I feel like very new in mental health practice, but additionally, what did get me into this sort of specific support clinically and in my day-to-day life with friends, family, is my own mental health struggles and my pets being there throughout that journey, and not just monetarily as a pet sitter, although I do get very attached to my own fur client babies. In fact, I just had a regular fur client that I had been pet sitting for 3 or 4 years. They just passed away in the last year. And I was actually there for the pet owners that day with their second dog. So I think my topic is really focused on disenfranchised grief. Although I saw that on Barbara's lovely platform, there were a lot of people who, whether they were a pet owner and lost their pet or a pet grief specialist professional in the mental health field, really touched a lot of the stories touched on disenfranchised grief, which
So let's get back to that in a minute. Let's have everyone else introduce themselves and then we'll circle back to that. But thank you for
beautiful,
getting us started on that.
a beautiful spot. No worries. Thank you.
Okay, Florence.
Hi, I'm Florence Soares-Dablos. I'm a licensed marriage family therapist. I've been doing counseling since 1996, but have been doing pet loss counseling and support since about 2005, 2006, when I was in private practice. Well, I'm still in private practice, but I was in private practice up in Chico. From 2018 until 2020, what year is it? 24, I guess, just last year. I worked at UC Davis Veterinary Medical Teaching Hospital as a veterinary social worker, basically. My title, though, was client support because I don't have there's an actual, I don't know if people know this, there's an actual certification program called veterinary social work. So my job, a part of my job was to run the pet loss support group and to meet with owners, either dealing with anticipatory grief. So that means, their pet is dealing with a chronic illness and there is concern about when the client or the patient may pass. So, and then of course, working one-on-one with clients as well in the pet loss space. But I did everything from like being in a euthanasia appointment with clients to support them, running the pet loss support group, meeting with them one-on-one, like I said, and helping them also prepare for the death, which might look like funeral arrangements in some ways. Like, do you want cremation? Do you need a necropsy? You know, and referring back to the vet. And then I did follow-ups with end of life conversations and quality of life conversations. So I loved that job. I miss it. So I try to do what I did there in my private practice. I run a virtual practice and I'm licensed in California, so I can see anybody in California. Well, that's kind of me. And like Desiree, I've had clients since I was a baby, or not clients, pets since I was a baby. There wasn't a day in my life that we didn't have dogs. We're dog people here. And as you know, Barbara, I recently lost my own dog in February, and I still miss her, of course. So, and we have another one already. So bonding with her has been a little different because, yeah, maybe we'll get into that later, but
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much. So Jeanene.
I am Jeanene DeRosier. I'm a certified clinical hypnotherapist. I have an office in Granite Bay, an office in Folsom, and I do a lot of virtual clients. So I see people furthest away is Canada. So some people I've never met before. I love what I do because it's gentle. And this topic is so near and dear to my heart. I love everything that you guys said. Barbara, just virtual hugs to you every time because these are just amazing conversations and it's raw, right? It's not filtered. And so for the people that are watching it and have experienced any of these things, it's giving them, it's validating them, right? They're not feeling like, oh, it's just me. But this particular topic is near and dear. Before I was a hypnotherapist, I actually worked at a large animal hospital in Sacramento. And prior to that, I started fostering and foster feeling senior dogs. Nobody wants them. Everybody wants a puppy, right? So I am, I can't even say it's a slight obsession. It's a huge obsession I have with senior dogs. My own personal going through that and experiencing that and learning how to navigate my own emotions gave me the ability to help people at the animal hospital. And it was a time like we were sliding into COVID. I mean, talk about the wheels came off for pets. Kind of like Florence said, I did a lot of that. I did talk on the phone and help people decide what that looked like at home and what that pet is experiencing. Is it time? Is it too late? Is it too soon? And help set up all of those arrangements, you know, from having that conversation. It's delicate, but you have to do the business end of it, you know, and then about them arriving at the hospital and setting all of that up. There's a lot of strategic things that go on in the background to be very mindful for those people. And same as Florence, I mean, helping facilitate a lot of that, people that couldn't be there, people that didn't want to be. I mean, COVID, Sacramento City Animal Services was shut down and people were showing up with like deceased animals that they found and didn't know what to do with them. So yay for our good Samaritans and all of that good stuff. But yeah, there's so many levels to this that I'm excited for this and really to learn more from what everybody has to offer. So thank you.
Thank you so much, all of you. And so Desiree, what you had wanted us to talk about was that idea of disenfranchised grief, which certainly pet grief is. People say dismissive things to people that are grieving humans, but they can much more easily whisk aside pet grief, like, that's just a dog. And so let's talk some more about that idea of disenfranchised grief.
Absolutely. And thank you all again for being here and bringing your experience to the table. I am also excited because I'm definitely not an expert here, just living and learning every day in my own practice and my personal life. But with disenfranchised grief, I think also other change in general, I think when I show up with all of my clients, past, present, and future, I am really just showing up, being that person to listen, and we don't judge. But with all change, there can be a grief process, whether that's a change of a new job, leaving our first practicum clients. I've definitely went through my own grief process because a good portion of that practicum internship for me in grad school was really focused on supporting people with their presenting chief concern, whatever you want to call it, being the loss of a pet, and of course, other grief. Like I mentioned, a lot of my own background with mental health and different life experiences, the umbrella of grief is definitely where I thrive, but especially disenfranchised grief with pet loss and other losses along our journeys. It's sort of my bread and butter, but just to hone in on disenfranchised grief with pet loss, I think almost every person I've worked with and supported through that, whether it's the anticipatory before, during the whole process of losing or loss of a pet, and most definitely in the bereavement stage after the loss, is, in the disenfranchised grief, in which maybe my clients had showed up and I was the only one they shared with, because their social circle, whatever their social environment, they felt even their own internal dialogue, like the dialogue that the messages that they got throughout childhood, whether it was their culture or their family system as the culture socially around them, they learned or were told that even reaching out for support for mental health in general or pet grief loss, like that, taboo, not to be spoken about. It's something you might, if you reach out for help, you might feel weaker or less than. And I definitely also had a focus in my internship, a lot of research, a lot of speaking with professionals in the vet medicine field, who I did learn when I was doing my research that vet medicine professionals have the suicide and depression rates are 2 to like 3.5 times the general population. And I have some family members too that have been in the vet medicine or are in the vet medicine professional, and their medicine school doesn't prepare them for the support they have to give to their pet parent clients. They usually get into the field for the love of pets. And I myself, as a growing professional in the mental health field, have my own problems reaching out for support. And so a lot of my focus was like supporting the vet medicine professionals, and even my own colleagues in the mental health field who feel like, we're the ones here to support people and their animals. Like it's almost like we can't have our own grief or our own problems, because we're these fixers, helpers, trying to make sure our people and our clients are okay. So I really think for both vet medicine professionals and our own professionals in the mental health field who have their own problems, I think with grief or any mental health problems, it's just a topic that really needs more research and more attention to in general. So I don't want to keep talking too much on my takeaways, because there's been a lot that I can think of already.
That is so true. The helpers never do stop and get help. So Jeanene, talk some more about that idea of disenfranchised grief.
Probably like everyone here, I have a million shares, a million stories, right? Excuse me. Exactly the kind of the dismissive comments that people make, right? It's just a dog. Get over it. Get a new dog. Get a new cat. Like whatever. I feel like it's an easy band-aid to put on when you don't know what to say, right? People just da-da, and out of their own awkwardness, their own uncomfortable, because let's face it, grief is not an easy topic for people. It usually makes people very uncomfortable, especially if they have not experienced any form of that, which I truly believe everybody has, but I think we focus on death grief. And so not really digging in and realizing we have had those same feelings and acknowledging that for somebody, huge. So I am an advocate of don't say get over it or get a new dog or anything. It's huge because I think yes, people say it, but on the receiving end of that, what it comes down to, why it stings so when someone says that, is because we experienced unconditional love. We might have never experienced that in our whole lives, not from anybody around us. But here we had this cool little furry somebody never said, oh God, you could do better. I wish you would work harder. You don't look very pretty today. You're not very nice. You know, you don't spend enough time. I mean, it is pure unconditional love. And when we have an opportunity to experience that and it's going away or it has gone away, we don't physically have that in front of us anymore. Those get over it, man, it's way below the belt, right? It rocks us. How do we come back? We're mad, we're angry, we isolate. And we don't know how to talk to other people about that because we assume that's going to be the same response from everybody else. And one of the things that I really wanted to talk about today is how cool that you got to experience that unconditional love. It's not the grief of just the death. If we had to make that decision, we had to talk to somebody about it. We had to choose a day and time. We had to do the logistics. We had to make those things happen. And people don't talk about that part, about that. Like, yes, that unconditional love has left, but it's almost like you had to choose to say goodbye to it. Who wants to do that? Like nobody.
And if you get a choice, not all of us get a choice.
Right, absolutely. Like Florence, I mean, there were animals that came in for all kinds of, that was not in the cards for that day. And here we are, and we need to make a decision because the animal is suffering, right? And this needs to be made now. Sometimes it's a grueling weeks or months before that's made. But in those moments, we still had to make that decision. And, nobody really acknowledges that part. I've shared before, but when I did work at the animal hospital, and it was COVID, so it was weird times. Like a lot of emergency hospitals weren't letting people in with their pets to say goodbye. You would just deliver them at the front door and wait in your car. Like, oh my God, talk about human interaction did not exist at all the times. Our hospital was different. I was like, I'll wear the hazmat gear or not, or whatever. Like you can't take this from people, right? But talk about not knowing where to go after with that. I mean, we did not offer ongoing support. I usually called to let people know that cremains were back and, that kind of stuff. So I had a lot of discussions. which there were a lot of discussions. My dog is barking right now. I love this so much. See, it's not just you. She's the doorbell. But if it was COVID and people were isolated, they have no idea where to go. And so I'm on the phone with these people and just like, what can I do? They'd come to get their cremains and I'd take them out to their car and have the most beautiful conversations with people. One of the things that kind of I could go on and on, but one of the things that really, really just, it was so eye-opening was we have an older generation that were already living by themselves. And then they had this pet and they had to say goodbye and maybe they couldn't be there. And then they're going home and they're isolated because the world is isolating. I mean, the wheels coming off, I feel like it's an understatement. The gravity of that, I just feel like nobody really talked about it, but we talked about it within the hospital because all of our vets were struggling. And I'm not a vet tech, I was admin support, but I mean, everybody was a part of it. And that grief after of all the decisions that had to be made, like if your pet got out and got hit by a car, I didn't lock the gate, did I do the gate? I mean, there's so many levels of that we guilt ourselves and we live in that grief and we believe that we're not allowed to release it because we made a mistake. So again, I'll pass the mic.
So,
Keep going.
disenfranchised grief.
Yeah, if I can speak to what's known as BE, behavioral euthanasias, those seem to also be, I don't want to say even more, but there's an added layer when somebody has to make the decision due to behavioral euthanasia, because even those who are experiencing disenfranchised grief of the loss of their animal have a difficult time understanding why somebody would choose or agree to euthanizing an animal who looks healthy or who is young, because a lot of people don't understand the mental health side for pets, and having to work with a behavior veterinarian on basically the last option for behavioral euthanasia. And so it carries this stigma to it that, because you don't see it on the outside, you don't see the clinical signs in the same way. The clinical signs appear as a training issue. And so, I mean, I have worked with people who have had to say goodbye to puppies even, who are having behavioral concerns. And the way that our behavior veterinarians, when I worked at Davis, the way they explained it was, it is a brain issue. It is brain health. And, I think that's really challenging. I mean, we live in a mental health stigmatized world to begin with. And then to think, oh, animals have that same issue. They look so healthy on the outside, right? So it carries a different type of disenfranchised loss due to that stigma that's attached.
Yeah, that makes sense. If you get the feeling that talking about how much pain you're in because your pet died is hard, having to say out loud, yeah, I'm the one that killed my pet because they weren't acting properly. And acting properly is over here, and behavioral euthanasia is way over here. But most people don't understand that. Like, well, isn't that a training issue? So there's levels at which you can be devalued, pieces and parts.
Yeah.
And the real thing that people miss, except for Well, even including when it's behavioral euthanasia, is not really understanding that unconditional positive love thing, not understanding why people fall in love with their pets the way they do, and why losing a pet can be so much worse than losing a human. And who wants to say that out loud? I'm such a weird person that I miss my pet more than my mother. But that unconditional positive regard of this creature that's with you all the time and knows you, and that doesn't even get acknowledged, much less talked about and formally grieved. So it's
Yeah.
the very same thing when a human dies, that it's even better, like Jeanene said, and that's what I think is disenfranchised, is people really understanding why and how you got so attached to a pet in the first place. And so for people who've never experienced that or don't attach to pets like that, you're kind of, I don't get it. Why is that happening? So yeah, that's a really hard piece of it. And then being the professionals who receive these people that have been told you're yucky and how you feel sucks. It's really hard. Okay, so Florence wanted us to talk about the anger that comes with grief, like how it can show up, how to express it in productive ways, or how to even realize that it's anger.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
start with that.
It's such a, I mean, it's such an important part of the process of grief, right? Like, it is a feeling that naturally comes up. And in pet loss, the anger can come up because we go from making all of the decisions for this animal to, I don't have any control. And also, we need to find a scapegoat. Like, that is part of the human experience, is we need to find either something to blame or someone to blame, because we need to make sense of what is happening or what has just happened. So there's lots of feelings of powerlessness, helplessness, frustration. I used to work with clients that would say, I don't get it. I was just walking my dog and now I'm here at the emergency room. Like, what has happened? And they get very upset, sometimes with their own veterinary professionals, because they're like, well, why didn't they catch it? Why didn't anybody tell me this was happening? And, the veterinarian or the vet med professionals would say, well, there was no clinical signs maybe prior. So we don't know either. But when somebody is taking their animal to the professional, there's this expectation that they're kind of the end all be all sometimes. And that also can create feelings of outrage, frustration, anger, because it doesn't meet expectations, right? But there's also this, like, either this shouldn't be happening, I can't believe this is happening. And again, it's about a loss of control. So going from one to the other and then kind of arguing with reality, like, this is the reality that's happening. So sometimes people will lash out. Some people will isolate. I think I heard somewhere that like, depression is anger turned inward. And so if there isn't anywhere to express the anger, because going back to disenfranchised grief, if we don't have a space to share how angry we are and how hurt we are, or it gets invalidated, where do we place those feelings? What I really appreciate about anger is that it allows us, it like buffers us from the pain that's underneath, right? Because to deal with that pain underneath can be even more overwhelming than the anger that we feel. So you've got the anger of losing your loved one and not feeling like you have any control. And then you might feel angry about why didn't the medical professionals find it? And then you might feel angry about the invalidation that comes from the outside world. Jeanene has talked about COVID. I was working at home when COVID hit. So my clients were taking their animals into the emergency room, which I think in the beginning was the only service that was open. I couldn't be there. I couldn't physically be in the euthanasia appointment anymore to provide that support. So there was having to be follow-up, right? And the anger that came with COVID exacerbated the anger that just comes naturally. So yeah, we find that either we're angry at other people and finding blame, or we blame ourselves.
Exactly.
And I think Jeanene might be talking about guilt a little bit later. There's a correlation between anger and guilt. And so typically what I encourage, well, the first thing I do is I validate, right? I validate their experience, their anger. Of course they're angry. That bond is broken. It's severed in a way that is so painful, and they have a right to feel angry. So I encourage them to find safe people, trusted people, people who will not invalidate them, but who really can support them, and also not be fearful of the anger. That, I mean, as long as they're not being abusive in any way, if it's not coming out that way, then finding those safe people to talk to. I mean, we were fortunate enough at the hospital that I still ran a support group. We moved it from in-person to online, and then it stayed online just to make it easier for out-of-towners. So they could have a built-in support system to express that anger and to get validated by the others who maybe were experiencing it in different ways. I've had clients who, are so upset with themselves, they just have difficulty letting it go. I didn't do enough. Why did I miss that? Should I have brought my animal to the emergency room sooner? Should I have followed up with those appointments? Should I have taken my animal to chemo? Or the owner who doesn't have enough resources financially, they may be angry that they don't have the resources available to them. You might have people in rural areas who are angry that they've got to drive 3 hours to the closest emergency room for their pet. So there's lots of reasons that are part of the loss, like this, all the secondary kind of questioning and losses. So there could be lashing out, there could be going within, there could be blaming others. So after I, really want to validate them, I talk about self-compassion and the importance of holding space for self in any of the grieving feelings, and encourage them to look at what they have control over. If I know I have a client like Jeanene was talking about who knows that they've got to make this decision and they have a little time with their pet, I'll ask them, what do you think you have control over? Knowing that this situation is not what anybody wants. And sometimes they don't really know. And then I'll ask more direct questions like, think about how you want to say goodbye, which I think Jeanene kind of touched on. Like, yeah, do you want, when or at home? Is this is your pet an appropriate patient for palliative care. So if you want to have a natural death, and that's really a discussion between the vet staff, the veterinarian and the client. But I'm really trying to help them find something they have control over. Some people, that does make them feel better. Sometimes they'll say, well, I do want a necropsy. And the necropsy results can be very validating in that most of the time I've seen necropsy reports really validate the decision. Some of them are inconclusive, which doesn't help much, but for the most part, I've seen some positive results with requesting necropsies. I mentioned this when Barbara and I met, just one-on-one. Letter writing, right? Writing a letter to the people that you're angry with, but not sending, including yourself. Journaling is important. Obviously, people can be mad at God or have a spiritual crisis of some sort. So then it's like, okay, do we need to pull in somebody from the spiritual world who, in their spiritual support network, who can also maybe support them through the loss, again, where there's a safe space to express anger. And some of this isn't just for anger, right? Because I think there's overlap with all different kinds of grief feelings. But really taking the time to kind of process the grief, like giving yourself permission and meeting self with compassion. Of course you're angry. You've just lost your best friend who, as we've been talking about, has been there for you and in an unconditional way. So yeah, I think joining groups and giving yourself permission to feel all the feels and validating that for oneself with self-compassion, and just having a safe space to process feelings. I mean, that's what we all do. We all provide space, a safe, trusting space for people to express that anger, that we're not going to be afraid of it. Right? I worked with angry teenage girls in the beginning of my career. I can hold space for anger. It's, that is what we're trained to do. So I really do encourage people to reach out for help, even if it's difficult. But there are therapists like us who do the work in this space, who do get it, because we love animals and we have relationships with animals in similar ways.
Yeah, great point. Having a therapist who's actually walked the walk is much more helpful than someone who's coming at you from their head.
Yeah. And I have had clients say to me, oh, I tried therapy, but the therapist basically was invalidating to them as well. And, the importance of finding the right therapist, it is really important, but so the great thing about energy is, I was just about to say, that takes energy when you're grieving. But the great thing about anger is that it has a lot of energy that can be rechanneled. And it can be rechanneled in really productive ways, which might be finding a therapist, but it might also be a way to honor your pet if you can get creative. I think I told you in our one-on-ones that I'm planning to do some pet loss groups in the future and to do some pet loss education, where I'm taking my feelings about losing Lita and creating a program called Lita's Legacy. So the upside to anger is that it has a lot of energy that can move us in a positive direction if we can channel it, and then know that it's temporary.
Yeah, true. Thanks.
Mhm.
So Desiree, anger.
Yes, anger is definitely, personally, one of the toughest emotions to process, express. I think if I could have done another topic, it would have been being a neurodivergent person with such like a huge ability to love and give like all percentage of myself to people and animals and pets being really, like someone else had mentioned, multiple people, that unconditional positive regard, like what my ideal therapist could provide me in a beautiful human way of validation. But in terms of like interventions for anger, I've had really good success with the letter, like writing a letter. Of course, I prioritize my client's self-determination. So I bring it up like, hey, how do you feel about whether we write a letter together to your lost animal pet, or you can journal kind of style that home. That goes for other losses too. And I had one pet specific pet owner who lost their animal really find that to be incredibly helpful. They never really thought of trying that. Obviously they, even if their pet if it was anticipatory, I guess someone could read it to their pet and express that before the loss, but they found that to be incredibly helpful. And definitely to speak more about anger. And this is my own personal experience after losing pets throughout my life, is those what ifs that Florence mentioned, and even in my clinical experience supporting pet owners after their losses, like that what if of like, what if I had closed or called in my pet sooner, maybe that coyote wouldn't have gotten my dog. Like the what ifs and analyzing that. And I just support and validate through all of that, because I know I can be the toughest critic and person on myself. So I can still remember clear to this day, like losing, I had a bullfrog like that I raised from a tadpole to frog, and it was the coolest thing. And I swear I had those thoughts of anger that kind of transformed to guilt. And I know that's another topic, but I can remember that that I turned the anger inside on myself in my thinking, and can still remember it. That was like probably 20 years ago, 25 years ago, honestly. So I think it can be very powerful to have someone, like Florence said, validate, see, your thoughts they're there, those feelings are there, they exist, and having someone to support you through that can be beautiful. But I do know as a therapist, it is hard to find a good fit in a therapist. So, mic drop.
Absolutely. Okay, Jeanene, anger.
You ladies brought up just some really great topics. The anger, it's a response, right? We weren't built angry. I mean, there may be a few, but for the most part, it's our response to a situation. And we create coping skills, mechanisms, whatever you want to call them. And we've been doing it since the day we were born. But how weird would it be if day one, we had every single coping mechanism for every single thing imaginable we'd ever experienced in our lives? Like, what? We're still learning how to walk, So that anger is a response because we don't know how to cope. And I think it would be sad if that was something that we were born with. We knew how to cope with sadness or saying goodbye to unconditional love. Like, it doesn't seem like a very positive start, And yeah, the anger is temporary, but it's there as a response. And we definitely want to blame people because it's too hard we're already picking ourselves apart, right? And maybe we're at capacity at picking ourselves apart. So we need to pick somebody else apart. Someone else needs to own this, because it's hard to imagine that we could have made a slight mistake or an error somewhere that led to this, right? Absolutely normal response. And I think it's huge to make sure people understand that it is temporary. Moments of anger will still always come up, but finding that safe place to understand someone telling you, like, it's okay to be angry. It's a response to a situation, right? That's totally validating. I remember taking calls at the animal hospital, and some people didn't want to know any of it, right? But some people maybe had never experienced how it works. We talk about funerals and funeral homes for people, and wakes or masses or whatever those look like, right? But we don't really talk about what that looks like for animals. And for a lot of people, I'm not saying everybody, but need someone to take the time and simplify it. This is what I'm going to help you with, this decision. When you get here, I'm going to help you with this other decision. You're not by yourself. We'll help you. And slowly, just simply what that process looks like. You can be a part of as much as you want. You don't have to be a part of you have all the control, right? Letting people know, like, it's okay if you can't be a part of it. Like, a lot of people beat up, like, oh God, you couldn't even take your dog or cat in. Like, some people can't. For some people, they're at capacity, and to physically be a part of that, man, it's an unfair judgment. I personally have sat with more than a handful of pets that their owners could not physically, emotionally just be present. And it's fine. It's fine to acknowledge that. And they're dealing with their own anger to the response, response to that in their own isolated way.
Mhm.
Healthy, not healthy. I mean, we all have to do it differently, right? But it is showing incredible kindness in moments that we can't fix this, we can't change the outcome. It is happening, but really creating a safe place for people to figure out what this looks like for them and how they're going to do it. Everyone's going to do it different, you know? Really taking that blame, like we do, like the behavior euthanasias. Wow, no kidding. That didn't even come into my thoughts, Florence, but I think about those too. You know, I read all the reports from UC Davis.
Mhm.
Wow, the things people did. Couldn't you just train them a little harder? I guess you didn't love them enough to care. You know, it's just like, wow, I don't know. I mean, these animals are viciously attacking and killing other animals. They are coming after people. You know, I mean, talk about a small world. Those animals live in such a tiny, tiny world. Like, what kind of happiness is that for that pet to live in that? Talk about the response and the rage that they feel, and we don't know why. And that's their daily existence. Like,
And they can
wow.
also feel angry about, like, even if their pet is alive, they can feel angry about how their world is getting
Oh,
small because the animal's world has to be small. And I'm sorry I interrupted.
yeah, no, it's beautiful. You know, like, I'm sure at UC Davis they have it, but we had a room that specifically had a door that opens to the parking lot. And for dog aggression dogs
Right.
and people aggression, there is a whole protocol. Call when you get here. We'll make sure the
Right.
room is open. We'll come get you. We have detailed notes. Don't look at the dog. Don't talk to it.
Right.
We would prop open doors. Come on in. We'll meet you, you know, the whole thing. And people would nonstop. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to be difficult. I'm sorry my dog doesn't like other dogs. Like, don't be sorry. I don't like everybody.
Right.
Why are
Right.
they
Exactly.
like something changed in their cute
Yeah.
little minds, but like, it's okay, you don't have to apologize, but you could see their embarrassment.
Mhm.
And it's just like, hey, no worries. Like, you know, not like we do this all the time, but we kind of do this all the time. Like, hey, we have this set up. It's not just for your dog. Don't worry about it. He's not here to make friends. It's a hospital. There's a lot of bad, quiet, wild energy. There's a lot of smells. There's a lot of things
All
happening.
smells.
It's almost weird when they come in and they're happy. So it's okay, you know? Um,
Yeah.
back to that letter writing. This is so fascinating. The dog that it actually probably introduced me to this whole part of my life was a dog that I had this very terribly destructive ex-boyfriend when I was young. Brought home a puppy. They all found puppies in someone's backyard. Next thing we know, we have a puppy. We just moved in together, and it was a relationship in my life at a young age that taught me everything a relationship should not be. And this little cute patoot dog witnessed all of it, right? But, ooh, I could cry. Ooh. But she was amazing. She was like a woman, a wise woman trapped in there, you know? And when that relationship ended, she ended up going up to live up in Paradise with my parents and my grandmother. They lived in different houses, and she would just run back and forth. And she laid under my grandma's bed while my grandma was dying. And they were like two cute little old ladies with bad hips, and they just slept all day, you know? And that's who she was. And when it was time, I wrote her a letter, right? Like, and I buried it with her.
Oh.
Thank you for being my secret keeper. Thank you for being the only other set of eyes that witnessed that part of my life that I've still never shared with anybody. Like, it's so powerful to find a way to acknowledge, you know, like, even if you burn the letter, you bury it, you never send it, like, whatever. I never understood the power of like that thank you, you know, that gratefulness for being a part of my life. And I just think that it's so important for people to really acknowledge, like, there are healthy ways, right? It's bringing up all my emotions right now. This is that part of grief. Like, one minute I'm smiling and joking, but like, how beautiful that I experienced that. And I want people to understand this is still grief.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. I didn't wake up and come here today and think this was what I was going to talk about, but it kind of came up, and then I'm like, ooh.
Right.
But she led me to understanding this part, being able to hold space for people through this part, and understanding that it will never go away, but it's turned down, and I can look at it, I can embrace it differently. And it allows me to do it for others. And that's what we're all doing, right? We all had to experience some level of this to even be here today to talk about it. And we hold that space with just, I mean, talk about egos off to the side, right? It's not about me. It's about like you in this moment. And how can I make you feel validated? And whatever those emotions are. Like, I just think that's beautiful. And thank you, ladies, for sharing this and holding space for me while we're doing this, because this is that powerful secret language that nobody talks about.
Right.
Thank you.
Role modeling is so important too, right? The ability to role model the expression of our grief. So thank you, Jeanene, for doing that.
Absolutely. So we are out of time. So thank you all so much. It's such an honor when you agree to hang out and share your lives and your experiences and your wisdom. So just in closing, let me ask each one of you, if people fast forwarded through this whole meeting and just got to the end, and you could give them one thing to carry with them. So what would be your 1 minute wisdom for people? And let's start with Florence.
Oh, geez. I should have thought about this earlier, like you asked. I think it's really that it's okay to feel anger. Anger represents it represents the pain of the severed bond of something very important. And yeah, it's okay. Like, rechannel that energy if you need to.
Thank you. So, Desiree?
Thank you all. It's so funny because I was taking notes throughout while everyone was speaking, and something came to me and was like, oh wow, I didn't think of that, even though I may have before, or it's come up in a different way. But I think the biggest thing, which is that like key takeaway, which I was not expecting, kind of like you had mentioned, Jeanene, is like my own, with my topic, disenfranchised grief, like my own anticipatory grief for my own Luna, who is still walking and healthy. There's been moments throughout, and I did not think about this and see it from this perspective until putting myself in a vulnerable position here. But like the anticipatory grief that I have, even though she's young, vibrant, healthy as far as we know, is like I'll sometimes just look at her and get very emotional. And my partner is like, why are you crying? And I'm like, because I'm thinking of the day we have to say goodbye to Luna, and it literally already breaks my heart. She's the first dog I've owned myself. And I've literally come here in this space of the topic of disenfranchised grief. And here I am almost weekly. I'll have this, well, more so like every couple of months, I'll have this thought, and my partner will ask me, why are you crying? And I'll say my thoughts out loud, and it's totally a form of disenfranchised anticipatory grief for the loss of my pet in the future. And I literally just realized that while being here today. And I think that's the beauty of being a professional in the mental health field, is I'll have thoughts like this and not share it with my client, obviously, and go home and do my own beautiful work that's necessary that I didn't realize was still floating around in this lovely brain and nervous system. So that's my biggest takeaway here, is my own counter transference, I guess you could say. It's beautiful. So I really enjoyed this, and really appreciate you all being here and sharing your experiences, being vulnerable. That's it's so freaking beautiful. So thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. It's great seeing you. Okay, Jeanene, 1 minute wisdom.
1 minute. I'm gonna go fast. I think the biggest thing is really be kind to yourself. Like we were not born to know how to cope with this, and the feelings are real. They're going to be there, and if you don't know what to do with them, right? Even I've been through this multiple times, so I have my own process of what I do, and I self-isolate, and then I come back out and do my thing. But for some people that really don't know what's happening, like number one, reach out to any of us, reach out to somebody. Even if they can't help, they probably know somebody that can. I want to talk about it, I don't want to talk about it, like whatever that looks like. But I guarantee you, we are not the only 4 people talking about this. Like there are people that will help you create a space to process those emotions. And I love what you said, Danielle, about already anticipating. It creates safety. Like we know what the story's going to look like. We're creating that, right? If we've experienced it already, and that story, I do the same thing. Weirdly, I also have a 2-year-old dog. Don't ask. The neighbor was fostering her, not a senior, whatever. But I do think like, wow, this is the longest I'm ever going to have a dog. Like, and I do get very emotional thinking about what that looks like. But I feel like it creates safety. It's almost like watching the same program over again. It's doing those repetitive moments because there's no surprises. We know how it turns out. Like, so I feel like there's a part of that. It's okay to think that way. We're just creating that safety, like, not like, well, woo, I wonder what happens. Like, well, maybe I'm preparing myself.
Mm.
And it's sad, but I'm already experiencing all of that love. And I think that safety in our bodies and our minds, like, beautiful.
Truth.
Okay, thank you all so much. It's been wonderful being with you, and I look forward to seeing you again in the future in another place and another time. And thank you so much. And I'm going to turn off the recording now.